Namaskar. I welcome all viewers to today's Zee Odisha live classes. Today I will be teaching you geography of standard 10 and we will be doing chapter 1, that is resources and development. So let's start with today's chapter. So students, like our chapter says, resources and development. So first we have to understand what we actually mean by the term resource. See, this term you have already studied in your previous classes. That means all the things that we use to satisfy human needs, we consider them as resources. But when we will learn this in standard 10, we have to add few other notions into it. So we have to add 3 features, that is, anything which we are going to use as a resource should satisfy 3 categories. That is, it should be technically accessible. Now, what we mean by technically accessible? See, resources are already available to us, either in natural way or in a man-made way. But as a person or as a human being, what we have to know is the resource is technically accessible to us or not. That means like whether we as a human being has that understanding, that technical knowledge or that technical skill to assess that resource. For example, suppose we have a lot of iron ore in Odisha, but do we know how to extract it? So this is the question that is being answered by this term, technically accessible. We need to know the technical accessibility of the resource. Then only we can make the use of core. Then the second term is your culturally acceptable. The resource that we use in our culture, it should be acceptable. Now, here I would like to give an example. We all are now under lockdown, isn't it? And we know like why we are under lockdown. It's just because of a simple virus that have caused such a disaster to the entire world. So why that happened? Just because Chinese culture has a habit of eating some insects, isn't it? But in our culture, that is not acceptable. So resource, okay, eating insects in Chinese culture may be a resourceful thing, but in our culture, it is not acceptable. So culturally acceptable, whatever the resource we are going to use, it should be acceptable to our culture because our culture defines human beings. So in our culture, the resource should be acceptable. Then only we can use it. I would like to give you another example. Let's take an example of chopstick, isn't it? Like chopstick is like we in our culture, do we use chopstick for a wider range? No, we don't use it. We prefer to eat by hands or with the spoons. So chopstick as a resource will be more wider in use in Chinese culture or your Eastern and Western countries. But for our culture, we prefer to use our hands or spoons. The third category is economically feasible. This means that the resource that we are using, it should be economically profitable for the producer as well as to the user. It also means that unless or until I am economically very stable, I cannot accept that resource to make my need satisfied, isn't it? So any resource that we going to consider for our needs, it should be technically accessible. I must know the techniques to use it. Culturally acceptable, it should be acceptable in my culture. It should not be that some things are not to use and some things can be used widely. In our culture, it should be acceptable. And economical feasible, it means I should have that wealth. I should have that materials to earn that resource. So these are the features. So anything that satisfy these three categories, any material in the world, if it satisfies these three categories, technical accessibility, cultural accessibility, and economical feasibility, we considered it as a resource. Now, let's move to the next topic of the chapter, that is interrelationship. Now, what do we exactly mean by interrelationship? As I told you, resource has three main features. Anything that we are going to consider as a resource must satisfy those three categories. And interrelation should be between human being as a core has interrelationship with physical environment, institutions, and technology. Now, how can we understand this? Human beings are at the core of utilization of the resources. We human beings are using the resources. Our human activities give functions to a resource. For example, I am carrying this marker. What I am doing, I am using it to write something on the whiteboard, isn't it? So my function of writing through the marker gives a function to this marker. So the human being's activity, the what human want to do, that decides the function of a resource. Physical environment, from physical environment we get the resource, whether we are talking about natural resources like your sun rays, isn't it? We use sun rays to harness your solar energy. Whether we are talking about water resources, that is used for hydropower electricity, or whatsoever resource we are talking about, we get it from the physical environment. Then from physical environment, we have set of institutions where we try to develop that resource through technical knowledge, technology, technical understanding, technical skills. And then only the human being is able to utilize that resource. So this is an interrelationship between physical environment, institutions, and technology. This question usually comes as 3-mark question for the boards. So I hope this is clear to all of you that how physical environment, institution, and technology has a relationship, interdependency between each other. We get the resource from the physical environment. We have institutions where we develop the resource through the technical knowledge. Understood? Now, we will go to the classification of resources. So, till now, we have discussed what do we mean by resource, and then the relationship. So now our topic would be classification of resources. On the basis of various aspects, we divide resources majorly under 4 categories. Number 1 is your on the basis of origin. On the basis of origin, we divide resources as biotic resources and abiotic resources. Now we have to know what do we mean by biotic resource and abiotic resources. See, biotic resources are all those resources that are considered to be the living beings, that living compounds or living organisms. Okay? The resource that are considered as living, we consider it as biotic resources. For example, animals, for example, plants, for example, fungus, anything, okay, living organisms are considered under biotic resources. Now, and this biotic resources is specifically we can consider it from the biosphere. Now, the abiotic resources, what we mean by abiotic resources? See, abiotic, alphabet A is being added, so from the name itself you can understand abiotic resources would be the resources which are considered to be non-living. So like non-living would be your air, so that we can use from your air, then water and the soil. Air, water and soil. Like we can use it from hydrosphere, lithosphere and atmosphere. Air from the atmosphere, from water from the hydrosphere and soil from the lithosphere. So the biotic resources are the resources that are composed of some living organisms, or we get it from biosphere. Example would be your plants, animals and other organisms. Abiotic resources, they are the resources that are classified as non-living resources. We get it from your atmosphere, lithosphere or hydrosphere, like your air, water and soil. For example, you can give any examples of the air composition, then you can write sea, you can write pond, you can write rivers, and for the soil, you can write types of the soil, or you can simply write land, plateau, plains. Now, this was your first classification of resources. Now, let's discuss about the second classification. Your second classification of resources is based on exhaustibility. Now, what is exhaustibility? See, exhaustibility is a term that explains to what extent of time period we can use a resource. So, it gives us a time period. So, according to the availability or the time period up to which we can use or that resource will be available to us, we can divide the resource into 2 parts. Renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Now, renewable resources and non-renewable resources. This question usually comes as difference between Now, what are renewable resources? Number 1, the resources that can be used again and again. Renewable. Resources can be used again Non-renewable resources, they cannot be used again and again. Now, what do we mean by these two statements? Renewable resources, resources can be used again and again. For example, sun rays. Okay, what every other day, like sun is there in our environment, sun is there for us since ages, isn't it? So we are using your renewable resources from many years. So we are using it again and again. And these resources has the ability to renew themselves. Take the example of water. The amount of water that is available to us is fixed. We get it recycled through your water cycle. And likewise, your non-renewable resources, I have written, cannot be used again and again. For example, most of the fossil fuels. Now, why they cannot be used? They take millions of years to prepare, to generate themselves. But as population of human beings is increasing, the demand for these resources has increased. But the ratio at which they are generating is not the same. We are using it more, but the availability of resource is less. So, there would be a time when we will have no more resources under non-renewable category. That is the reason why we call it they cannot be used again and again. Now, second, renewable resources, as they have their natural ability to renew themselves, they are considered to be non-pollutant. This means they are very eco-friendly to our atmosphere and the environment. So, if we are using renewable resources, it is very good for our atmosphere and the environment. Whereas your non-renewable resources, they create pollution. So they are not eco-friendly and they pollute environment. See, from this one point itself, we can understand which resource is good for us, isn't it? We should be going along with the alternative ways of using renewable resources as they are very eco-friendly to our environment, whereas we should be limiting the use of non-renewable resources. Now here I would like to give an example from the current scenario. From the time we have been under lockdown, there are very images in the news channels also, in the newspaper also, that nature is restoring itself. There is less pollution in the environment. Water is also not getting polluted. Industries are shut down. So nature is restoring itself. Now, why all these came up? Just because there is now less use of non-renewable resources. There are no more vehicles on the road as per the number of vehicles used to be on the roads before lockdown. So your pollution, these resources are the resource that creates pollution, and they are not good for our environment. You can give the examples. I think that is very clear to all of you. I have already explained. Now, next we will go to the next basis of classification. That is on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, we divide resources in 4 categories. Individual resources, Community owned resources. Individual resources, community owned resources, national resources, and international resources. Now let's understand what exactly we mean by these classification. Individual resources. Individual resources are the resources that are owned by individual persons. Okay, whatever the resource you consider to be your, that will be individual resource. For example, your notebook, your school uniform, your school. When your school is a community owned, but when you say that that is mine, that resource is mine, we consider it to be individual. Like your pen, copy, your uniform, your house, your vehicle, your car, your motorbike. These are individually owned by the people who are using them. So they are individual resources. So the ownership, who owns them? So owned by individual people. Example, now community owned resources. The term community explains the people of that community will be the owner of those resources. Okay, so in our community, if we have a community hall that can be used by all the people of the same community, so community resources would be the resources that are owned by people of a particular community. For example, suppose in your city, in your town, or in your village, there is a temple. So that temple is a community owned resource. Everybody in that particular area will go to that temple and they can use it. If we have a community park, most of the park, they are community park. So all the people of the community, they can go there, they can spend their time and they can utilize it. So the owner is the entire community. So when there is a resource which is owned by all the people of a community, we consider it as community owned resources. So here it would be owned by people of community. Your example would be like park, temple, grazing grounds, in most of the villages, what happens, people have their own area of the grazing. So that is considered to be a community own land. Okay, so we can consider park, temple, and any resource that is used by multiple people of community. Then let's talk about national resources. Now here, national resources would be all the resources that are owned by the people of a particular nation. For example, in our country, India, we have a political boundary and we have a government. So the national resources would be all the resources that are governed by a particular government of a nation and utilized by the people of a country. So here owner would be owned by government of a nation. Example, like railways, energy distribution grids. Like, you can give other examples also. National resources owned by government of a nation. So like the railways is owned by a government and every one of us can use it. So though we do not own it, but we are using it. The owner is considered to be the government of a particular nation. So that is your national resources. All the roadways, also national highways, they are owned by a country. The political boundaries, all your, even you can consider our parliament is a national resource. All your monuments of a country, they are the national resource. Your historical monuments that signifies the heritage of a country, they are all national resources. And we are left with the next classification of international resources. Before I start that, I would like to take us a short break. We will meet you after the break. So I welcome all of you once again after the short break. Let's continue the classification of resources. So we have till now discussed resources classification on the basis of ownership. We classified them into individual resources, community-owned resources, national resources, and now we will be doing international resources. Now see, as national resources was owned by a nation, international resources are owned by many countries, and we have international bodies to regulate those resources. Okay, so international resources are owned by international organizations. Okay, so we have a caller. So we will take the question from the caller. Hello.
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 Hello, ma'am.
Good morning. Apan ke kouchanti? Au ko school ru kouchanti?
Hello, ma'am. I am Ashish Sahu.
Okay. From which school?
From OAV Sergora. Odisha Dasha Vidyalaya Sergora.
Okay. So what is your question, Ayush?
Ma'am, Ashish.
What is your question, beta?
Ma'am, what is the difference between actual resource and potential resource? I not understand.
Beta, that topic we will be continuing after this. That is on the your development of the resources, on the basis of development. Just after the completing this international resources, I will switching over to it and I will explain you in detail. Okay, so international resources, this is owned by international organizations, and here in example you can write exclusive economic zone. Now students, what is this? See, we have a limit on water resources and the extent of the water limits. Like under exclusive economic zone, we have a limit of 200 nautical miles from the coast of a nation. Okay, from the coast of the nation up to 200 nautical miles into the ocean, the countries have a mutual agreement to use the water or the seabed for economic benefits, for commercial purpose. Either we can go for the use of the resources found in the ocean, or we can use it for any research and development work. We can take marine resources and make use of it, whether it's a pearl or even your petroleum also. So this is an example of international resource. We have another caller, so we will take the question and then we will continue.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Hello. What is your name and you are from which school?
I am Pailpriya Sahu from OAV Harichandanpur.
Okay. So what is your question?
Ma'am, my question is, coal is a biotic resource as it is made up of living compounds, but soil is also made up of living microorganisms. So why it is not an abiotic resource? It is abiotic.
Okay. So student, your question is why coal is a biotic resource and your soil is a abiotic resource. See, the soil is not only composed of the decaying organism. Okay, we have other aspects in the formation of soil also. The humus layer, we consider it to be formed by the decayed organisms. Okay, so as it is not only the things that forms a soil, that is the reason why we consider it to be a biotic resource. The organism is decayed. Okay, they are no more living being. That is the reason why soil is considered to be a biotic resource. the first caller asked me about the different classification of resources on the hello. Hello. Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. What is your name and what is your question?
Ma'am, my name is Ansantosh and I am from Brahmani Public School.
Okay.
Can you again explain me the difference between national and international resource? I can't understand.
Sure. Okay. So this is for the previous caller. I'll explain once again about the national resources. National resources, the resources owned by a nation. Suppose I am a nationality of India, so all the resources inside the political boundary of my country is my resource. But the owner of the resource is considered to be the government. All the people of the nation can use the resources, but the resources of national category are maintained or governed by the government or the political body of the nation. So the resources that are inside a political boundary of a country. Suppose in our country we have various kinds of resources. Like in the Deccan Plateau region, we have maximum source of minerals. So these minerals will be used by the people of our country. In our Rajasthan, we have salt, isn't it? From your Sambar lake, we take a salt. So that is used by the people of our country. Then take an example of wind energy from Tamil Nadu. So that is being used by our country, by our people. So anything inside the political boundary of a nation that is owned and maintained by the government of a particular nation and used by the people of that country is considered to be the national resources. Likewise, international resources. International resources would be the resources that can be used by many countries. Okay? Many countries, they mutually agree to use resources. So those resources are considered to be international resources, and we have international organizations to control and regulate those resources. For this example, I give example of your exclusive economic zone. That is, from the coastline of a country up to 200 nautical miles inside the ocean, what we can use the water or marine resources. Okay, various country has this zone as their economic zone, and they use the resources available in that zone for their commercial benefit. So we consider it as international resources. Now let's move on to the classification of resources on the basis of development. On the basis of development, we classify resources in number 1, actual or developed resource. Now, what is this? On the basis of development. So it is like on the rate of development. We divide the resources in major parts. Number 1 is your actual or developed resource. These resources are the resources which are actually developed and we are using it currently. For example, amount of coal we are using to generate electricity. See, coal here is a actual resource. Now how and why? Because the amount, the quantity of the resource that is available to us, we know it. And we also have the technical knowledge and skill how to use it to generate electricity. So when we know the amount of the resource that we have and we can use it, and we are also using it currently in today's time, we consider the resource as actual or developed resource. We have the resource, we have the technical knowledge, and we are using it to satisfy our various needs, then is considered to be actual or developed resource. The second one is your potential resource. Now, what do we mean by potential resource? Potential is a word that explains our capabilities, our abilities that develops with time. This means that we have the resource, okay? We have resource, but we have the resource, but we do not have technical know-how. It means that we know that some resource is available to us, but we do not know how to use it. So the resource has the ability to satisfy our needs, but we are not able to use it. We do not have that potential to do it. So that resource is considered to be potential resource. For example, in Ladakh, hello?
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
What is your name and you are from which school?
I am Sancharika Padhi from Orvi Jagrai.
Okay, so beta, what is your question?
My question is, ma'am, what is the what is the definition of flow or continuous resource?
Flow and continuous resources.
Yes.
Okay, I'm explaining. See, flow and continuous resources. Flow and continuous resources. Flow and continuous. Flow and continuous resources means a resource that is available in flow and continuously. It means that the resource can be used again and again. So, I think you can identify very clearly now a resource which is used in flow and which available in continuous, or that resource we can use again and again, is your renewable resource. I hope you are clear with your doubt. The resource that we consider to be flowing resource or a continuous resource are the renewable resource only. These are the various names where we can explain about the renewable resources. Okay, so I was explaining you about the potential resource. So, potential resource, we know where is the resource, and we do not have the technical knowledge, technical understanding, how to use that resource. So, those resource will be a potential resource. For example, in Ladakh, in our country, we have deposits of uranium. It can be used to generate electricity, but we do not know the technical knowledge. We do not have the technical knowledge that is required to take that uranium, extract that uranium, and turn it into the power resource. So, that resource in Ladakh is considered to be a potential resource. Here, we can also consider your solar power and water resources or hydropower also. Like the solar power, we know it is very good renewable resource, and even our country's location is so that if we start to use the solar energy, our dependency on non-renewable resources will decrease, and hence even it would be good for environment. But in our country, we haven't started to use the resource in a large extent to the limit we can use it. Okay, so we have another call. Hello.
Hello, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I can understand the interrelationship.
Okay.
So, ma'am, please.
What is your name?
Ma'am, I am Bhumika from JND Cuttack.
Okay, Bhumika, I'll explain in just a minute. Okay, so our caller asked us about the interrelationship. I'll be going to it before winding up this. So I hope you have understood. I was explaining about your solar energy or hydropower, electricity, even the geothermal energies. We do have resources, but we do not have the technical knowledge to use it. So the time when we will attain the understanding and the skill of utilizing those resources, that potential resource will turn out to be an actual resource. Okay? So now the caller had a question about the interrelationship. See, human, the resource gets its function from human activities. And yes, we have another call. Hello.
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 Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. What is your name and you are from which school?
Ma'am, my name is Kalpana Sahu. I am DGHS from Sorada Ganjam.
Okay. Kalpana, what is your question?
Ma'am, my question is, what is developed resource?
Okay, developed resources are the resources, beta, that they are all developed, like they are on a perfect status where we are using the resource. It's all developed. We don't have to put extra technical knowledge to it, or we don't have to develop institutions for it. The resource is all developed and we are using it actually. So those resources are the developed resource. So the question was regarding the relationship between your interdependence between physical environment, human, institution, and technology. See, any resource that we get from the physical environment, most of the resources are available to us in impure state. Okay? So, from the physical environment, suppose let's take an example of coal. Okay? We get it from physical environment, the natural resource. We need to have institution, means the factories, refineries, or extraction processes, okay, where we can channelize or we can transform your value of the coal. The purity of the coal can be refined, and then only we can use it for a better use. So we extract the coal, we take it to the refineries, we refine it, and then we apply technological skill and knowledge to generate electricity. So this is an interrelationship between physical environment, institution, and technology. How? From the physical environment we get resource, then through the institution. Here institution means all the factories and everything that we are having. Okay, we have another call. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
What is your name and you are from which school?
I am Ankur Pradhan from Odisha Adarsha Vidyalaya, Boud.
Okay, so what is your question?
I have a doubt. Potential resource. What do you mean by potential resource?
Okay, see, potential resources are the resources which has the capability to satisfy human need, but we do not have the technical knowledge to use that resource currently. Okay, we may develop it and we may learn to have the technology through which we can use that resource, but we do not have that currently. So those resources which has the capability but we are not using currently because of the technical your unavailability of the techniques, so we consider it as potential resource. So this was your interrelationship between physical environment, institutions and technology. So on the basis of development, we have explained the two classification. First one was your actual or developed resource. Second one was your potential resource. The third one is your stocks. And the fourth one is reserves. Now, what exactly we mean by stocks and then the reserves? See, stocks are the resources which are there for us, but we are not using them currently. Okay? They are kept aside for the current use. So we call it as stocks. Or that there are chances we can develop the technique and then we can use it. For example, in our environment, we have hydrogen. We can use this for many purposes, but we are not using it. So, this becomes a stock for us. So, a resource which we have, but we haven't started to do any experiment on it, or your technical knowledge is not being put on those resources, they are considered to be the stocks. And reserves. Now, reserves are those resources which are found in a country or anywhere on the earth. It is there, the resource is there. We know the techniques to use it, but we are not using it. We are keeping it aside for current use. Means these resources are reserved for future generation. Okay? They are kept aside from regular use, from actual use. They are stored or kept aside from current use. For example, okay, dams, water in dams. The water gets stored, and why? Either we are using it for electricity, but mostly the water, it is being stored for future use. So this becomes a reserve resource. We are keeping it aside. We are not using it now. Then reserve forest. The forest resources that are available under reserve category, we cannot use it. So these are the examples of stocks and reserve resources. Next, we will know about the conservation of resources. And before conservation of resources, we must understand why the need of conservation. we have already understood various type of resources and how human beings and their life is dependent on a resource. Even a simple thing starting with your toothpaste to your laptop, to your television, to your furnitures at home, everything around us is a resource. We cannot assume our life without resource. And that we can understand in current scenario also. When we are under lockdown, then how we are not able to use all the resources. So the conservation of resource is your way of judicious use. The key term would be judicious. And with this, I would like to end today's class, and I will be soon seeing you for the further detailing of this chapter. I hope you had a very good learning. I wish you a happy stay at home, and I would like to thank Zee Odisha Live Classes and also my school to partnering with Zee Odisha and giving a platform to reach out to you students. So thank you Zee Odisha Live Classes and also ODM Public School. Thank you everyone. Have a good day.